This podcast contains adult themes and graphic violence. Listener discretion is advised.
A commercial-free version of this podcast is available on Patreon for $1 per month. Patreon.com/Beyond Contempt podcast. I'm Renee, and this is Beyond Contempt True Crime. I haven't included a lot of audio clips in past episodes. Mainly, it's time-consuming to find and sound-conditioned public domain audio, or it can be cost-prohibitive to file a FOIA or pay for the rights to play certain audio clips. Here, I opted to play about half of the police interrogation because I wanted you to witness firsthand how the accused exhibited many domestic abuser traits. It just permeated the interview from start to finish. He had a history of aggression. He minimized his role in the altercation with the victim. He denied physically abusing the victim. He placed blame on the victim. And like most domestic abusers, he plied himself with alcohol all day long before the incident with the victim. You're listening to episode 20, Yeardley Love. Yeardley Love was born to parents John and Sharon Love on July 17, 1987. John worked in the financial sector for Morgan Stanley, and Sharon worked with hearing-impaired students in Baltimore's public school system. The family lived in a wealthy neighborhood in Baltimore, Maryland, where their children attended private Catholic school. Yeardley went to St. Joseph's Regional Catholic in Beltsville, Maryland for her elementary school years. She attended the all-girls Notre Dame Preparatory School in Towson for middle and high school. John Love had been a lacrosse player and passed his love of the sport onto his daughter. Yeardley started the sport when she was 5 and played year-round. She played lacrosse and field hockey throughout high school and continued with lacrosse during her collegiate years. Sharon was left alone to raise 15-year-old Yeardley and her older sister Lexi when John passed away from prostate cancer in 2003, just 3 days after Christmas. At the funeral, Yeardley placed a lacrosse ball in her father's casket. Yeardley went to school at the University of Virginia and majored in government. There was no other college that she wanted to attend other than UVA, in part because the school had a strong lacrosse team and she wanted to honor her father's legacy. He briefly attended UVA but never finished his degree before he went into the military. Yeardley belonged to the Kappa Alpha Theta sorority and was a remarkable player on UVA's lacrosse team. She proudly wore number 1 on her jersey, just as she did in high school. Like most collegiate sports that have both male and female teams, the men's and women's lacrosse players at UVA knew each other well. They often hung out together outside of classes and lacrosse activities. That was how the orbits of Yeardley Love and George Huguely V intersected. George Wesley Huguely V was born to parents George Huguely IV and Marta Murphy on September 17, 1987. He was born in Washington, D.C., and grew up in the Potomac and Chevy Chase areas in Maryland. These communities are some of the richest in the country, where the average household income is over $200,000. The Hugleys owned $1 million home in Potomac. George's great-great-grandfather co-founded the Gallagher and Huguely Lumberyard in 1912. Today, the company is known as Washington, D.C.'s one-stop shop for home improvement and sells anything from masonry to windows. George's father worked in real estate, and his mother was a model. George had a younger sister named Taryn. The Huguely children witnessed their parents go through a contentious divorce when George was only 11. The dissolution of the Huguely family unit did not prevent the children from growing up in abundance. George's dad owned a 40-foot yacht, fittingly named The Real Deal. The family owned a beach house in North Carolina, where George and his friends would hang out during high school and college breaks. They also owned real estate in Palm Beach, Florida. George attended elite private schools. In the 8th grade, he went to Mater Dei School, then went to the all-boys Landon School for high school. These institutions included a college-esque admissions process with a price tag that matched. George played football and lacrosse throughout high school. During his senior year at Landon, he was the quarterback of the football team and won a conference title. George went to college at the University of Virginia and played lacrosse for the men's UVA team. He wasn't as successful of an athlete at UVA as he was in high school. George was not as disciplined as the other members of the team. Most of the players were chiseled and fit. George didn't look as athletic because of his party-hard lifestyle, which started in high school and was maintained during his time at UVA. During summer 2007, George and Yeardley started dating after meeting at a UVA lacrosse event. They bonded over their love for the sport they shared. In the beginning of their relationship, George treated his girlfriend with consideration and kindness. He was even described as being polite by a teammate's parent. Despite the relationship, George continued to party. He drank on the weekends with his lacrosse friends and was known for being popular with the ladies. In November 2008, George preserved his bad boy reputation when he was arrested for public drunkenness and resisting arrest. They called Officer Rebecca Moss to the Phi Kappa Sigma house at nearby Washington and Lee University. George was intoxicated and wandered into oncoming traffic. The situation quickly soured when he used sexist and racist language and became aggressive with the officer. After not listening to commands, Officer Rebecca Moss was forced to use her stun gun on him. She said George was by far the most hostile drunk college kid she had ever encountered. They charged him with public intoxication, resisting arrest, and public swearing. The judge ordered George to pay a $100 fine, serve 50 hours of community service, and partake in 20 hours of substance abuse education. George was so drunk that he had no memory of the incident. Since 2004, UVA had a policy that required all students to disclose arrests or convictions. George and his family opted not to report the arrest to the university. Just a month later, in December 2008, George's temper surfaced again when he and his father got into argument when they were on the family yacht. George wanted to go to the beach. When his father said he would take him home instead, George jumped into the ocean and tried to swim for the shore. The police were called, and the incident was recorded and categorized as domestic abuse by the authorities. However, the fight between George and his father was only verbal, so no arrests were made. Times were tumultuous for George and Yeardley, as accusations of infidelity easily volleyed back and forth. In February 2009, a friend told George that Yeardley and George's teammate, Michael Burns, were seeing each other. George was upset and went to the teammate's apartment to confront him. One of the unassuming roommates let George into the apartment, and he headed directly to Michael's room, where he proceeded to repeatedly punch the sleeping man. Michael Burns sustained several blows to the face, but luckily he recovered without having long-term issues. Later on, George was overheard breaking to his teammates about saying, "Sweet dreams, punk," before punching Michael Burns. The incident was reported to UVA lacrosse coach Dom Starcia. However, both George and Michael told the coach that the personal issue between them was over. Coach Starcia wasn't aware of the level of ferocity of the assault, therefore never reported it to UVA. Had the university been made aware of this incident, George might have been disciplined or expelled, which could have been pivotal in altering the course of events that unfolded. Coach Starcia also had a rule that his players were only allowed to drink one night per week. Players who broke this rule could be suspended or kicked off the team. Regardless, the drinking was rampant among the lacrosse team. In February 2010, George openly assaulted Yeardley during a lacrosse victory party. The men's and women's teams won back-to-back games and were celebrating with friends from nearby universities. George became upset with Yeardley, pinned her to the ground, and violently choked her in front of party attendees. George was 6'2" and 209 pounds, and was nearly twice the size of Yeardley. Several University of North Carolina lacrosse players pulled George off of her. Yeardley went home to Maryland to put some distance between her and George. He was so drunk he did not even remember the incident. None of the students called the police or reported the assault to the university. Yeardley's mom wanted her to file for a restraining order against George, but she took no legal action. Later on, George apologized to Yeardley, but she told friends that her relationship was over. They were still seen walking to class together and hung out with their friends' group of lacrosse players. People thought Yeardley and George resolved their issues and were dating again. It was late April 2010, and college graduation was a few weeks away. A friend told Yeardley that George was dating a sorority sister. Yeardley confronted George at his apartment, where he was hanging out with 2 female recruits. Yeardley was so angry that she threw her purse at George and abruptly left his apartment. A few days later, Yeardley showed her friends a concerning email from George that said, "I should have killed you." On Saturday, May 1st, the men's and women's lacrosse teams welcomed their parents to campus for senior weekend. That evening, both teams and their parents gathered at Boylan Heights, which was a popular sports bar that UVA college students frequented. Yeardley was seen talking with George's mom, Martha, who believed everything was fine between her son and Yeardley. However, George did not tell her that they were no longer together. On May 2nd, the men's lacrosse team had a father-son golf outing at the Farmington Country Club. George started drinking during his last round of golf, then continued drinking heavily for the rest of the day. That evening, Yeardley and her lacrosse teammates hung out on the deck of Boylan Heights. It was Sunday Fun Day, and they were excited about their upcoming NCAA lacrosse tournament. Someone overheard a teammate ask Yeardley about her relationship with George, and she said that everything was good, even though George was upset at Yeardley for breaking up with him. Yeardley and her roommate, Katie Whiteley, left Boylan Sports Bar and returned to their apartment around 10 p.m. Katie wanted to continue the party, so she left the apartment to seek out more fun. Yeardley was tired after drinking all evening. She took a hot shower, put on her pajamas, and promptly fell asleep. Katie and her friend Philippe arrived back at the apartment around 2 a.m. They noticed a hole in Yeardley's bedroom door and found Yeardley face down in her bed, lying in a pool of her own blood. When Yeardley wouldn't wake up, they dialed 911. The operator communicated to law enforcement that an unresponsive female was found in an off-campus apartment, and they immediately dispatched deputies. The police thought it would be the typical situation of a college student who passed out from drinking. Philippe and Katie moved Yeardley from the bed and placed her face up on the bedroom floor. Philippe began CPR with the 911 operator's help, but her pulse was absent and she was not breathing. Law enforcement and paramedics arrived at the apartment just after 2:20 a.m. After attempting additional life-saving techniques, they pronounced Yeardley deceased, and it was apparent that her death was not innocuous. Yeardley's roommate Katie and her friend Philippe were initially questioned. After gathering more information, Detective Lisa Reeves had a clear sense of who she needed to speak with. She made her way to George Huguely's apartment at 7 a.m. on May 3rd. Detective Reeves asked him to come down to the Charlottesville police station. George obliged and waived his Miranda rights. He decided not to involve his parents, and he did not request his lawyer. Detective Reeves asked George about what he had done yesterday, May 2nd. According to George, after a day of activities, he went to visit Yeardley. All he wanted to do was talk with her, and he said that she was the one who was agitated.
Played golf with our parents. It was a father-son. Good and bad. I mean,
where was that at?
At Wintergreen.
Mourning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I went to dinner with my dad and my 2 buddies.
Where was that? We're talking.
I went to CNL.
Okay.
And then went home, went to the bar for like a little while. And,
All right, what time did you go out to eat?
The golf event ended at 5-ish, so we were probably back at, that was probably 7:30 with dinner.
Okay.
And then went home, drank a few beers, went, like, I went to the bar for a little while. I went to
Which bar?
Boylan Heights.
Well, okay.
then I went over to talk to Yeardley. And
Who's Yeardley?
Yeardley is my former girlfriend.
Okay.
Which this whole thing's about, which I understand. But when I went over to talk to Yeardley, I like was like, Yeardley, and she was like already like totally freaked out because of what she did this past like a few days ago, and we haven't talked since. I was just gonna go talk to her, and she was already like, oh, like freaking out, like, you know, you can't come in, you can't come in. And I was like, I'm like just trying to talk to you, and like she like started being like getting like all like, you know, like really like defensive against it, because the week before she came into my apartment and like attacked like and started striking me, and I like was like, all right, you gotta leave, and like had my roommate's girlfriend finally be like, all right, you like take her out of there because of this. So when I went in to talk to her, because literally they've been away, we've been away. When I talked to her, she was already like on the defensive edge, and like I was like, listen, I'm not here to like, I'm just here to talk to you. And she like got all like sat up, like her bed's against the wall, like if it was in this corner, she was like up against the wall, and I was like we were sitting there talking, and like she started being like you know, like getting like all like aggressive after this. And so I was like, all right, like chill out, like, and shook her a little bit, and she started being like freaking out. And I was like, listen, I'm not like here to do anything, I'm here to talk to you about everything that's ensued in the past week. And she was like, and like sort of like being like, no, like hitting her head, like stop, like she's in the corner, I was sitting on the bed, I was like, stop, like I was like, Yeardley, like what the hell, like we were just gonna talk. And like it was not at all like a good conversation, because that's like she was already like freaking out with just even seeing me there.
George was asked about what happened between him and Yeardley the week prior.
And then I'm at home on my sofa, and she comes in the door like this, two of with the same body as mine, the same body that was there earlier, and two girls that were visiting, deciding if they wanted to come here to school or not. And she walks in the door, opens the door, and comes over and just starts hitting me in the face. And I like got up and I was like, stop, like, you know, like get off of me, like leave me alone, like you can't like do this, you can't just like start doing this, like. And then I had basically had my roommate's girlfriend, who is friends with my girlfriend. I was like, yo, Liz, like calling from her from the kitchen, like get her out of here, like never like touched her, never struck her. I was just like, listen, like you have to like stop hitting me. And she wouldn't stop, and she kept coming. So that happened. So I was going over there to talk to her last night.
George told the detectives he entered Yeardley's apartment so they could talk about what happened the week before. With help from the detective, George remembered kicking in her locked bedroom door. He stated that it was Yeardley who was aggressive, while he tried to portray himself as being the reasonable party who just wanted to talk their issues through.
And I never like hit her, never struck her, never, and nothing happened.
All right. So you go over there, knock on the door.
Her front door was open. Her room door was closed. I knocked, like Yeardley, like she heard me, open the door, and went in.
All right. Went in where?
To her room.
All right. Straight to her bedroom.
Straight to her bedroom. Yeah, I mean.
How'd you get through the door?
Her door, or the front door.
Her door.
Actually, it might have been locked.
It was.
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
Just be honest with me.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was locked. Yeah, because I think I put a hole.
Yeah. You punched a hole through the door.
Pretty sure, actually, now. Yeah, I used to have that, yeah.
All right.
Pretty sure.
Why'd you do that?
Because I want to talk to her, because she's been sending me like emails.
Was she
like,
telling you to leave, or?
Well, I guess, yeah, once I was in her room, she was like very like, like, or like, no, like, I don't want to talk to you, like all this stuff. Like,
What was she wearing?
What was she wearing? I think she was in her bed. She was in her underwear and t-shirt.
Okay. All right, so you get in there, she's in her. Okay, I'm not saying you that. I'm just trying to pick
yeah,
her
no, I
up.
understand,
Okay.
but like.
All right, so she's in her bed, t-shirt and underwear, you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Light on, light off?
Light off. I'm pretty sure she was like, this was like around, probably, I want to say like 12:45-ish.
Okay.
So she was like either asleep or like, doing something. And so I went in there to talk to her. And she was very like, very on edge, like, I don't want to talk, like, I don't want to talk, like, I was like, listen, like, what you pulled last week was outrageous. Like, I just want to talk to you.
Why'd you push her to it?
Because I want to talk to her.
All right, we'll continue on. That's fine, continue on. So you're talking to her and she doesn't want to talk to you?
Not really. I mean, we talked though. Like there was parts where we were talking, and then like.
Do you know what you're talking about?
I mean, about so many different things.
Okay. Like what?
Like what she did last week.
Mm-hmm.
Like went to like Carolina, how she attacked me. Like she went to Carolina and hooked up with someone Sunday when we were still trying to figure out things. Came over, attacked me on Tuesday, and I'm just sitting like, and I was over there like to talk, like I was like, this is outrageous. Like, I mean, and because I was trying to make everything better, and then like, and then all of this happens, and then she comes in and attacks me, and I'm like, and to the point where my roommate's girlfriend has to like take her out of there.
Okay.
So
Let's go back to you're in her room tonight.
Yeah, last night.
Night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like in the corner for beds, like if her bed would push all the way back, like in the corner, like, like, and I'm pretty sure that she was very defensive because she knew like how upset I was, because I've told her like through email, like how upset I was like about what she did, and about Tuesday night for like coming in and starting to strike me. And so I was like, and I sat on the edge of it. I was like, listen, like, I want to talk to you. Like what you did was bullshit. Like that's not like, okay. Like,
So you're pretty upset, pretty angry.
Yeah, I was more like emotional than I would say angry.
Okay. You're hurting.
And I was just like, and she's like, not like, she's like, sort of pushing everything that she did to the back burner, and like talking about like trying to like put everything that she did like wasn't important. And like, we talked, and she like kept getting like, and then she kept saying things like, oh, well, like, like, I mean, what was she saying? Stuff like, well, like, I would trust you, like, or stuff like that. And and it kept going to the point where she, like, I was like, listen, like, we have to figure like out what's going on. And she was like, I'm not talking to you. And then she like pushed me, like, get out of here, like go. And I was like, no. And like, I was like, be like, we have to talk. Like,
George admitted to seeing Yeardley's bloody nose and grabbing her neck, but he claimed he didn't strangle her.
Like, get like
When you're doing that, what are you holding on her?
on her arms.
On her arms, like maybe up here?
Like shoulders, yeah.
Shoulders.
Like yeah, like never like never like, I mean, if I could like show you.
No, it's all right.
I know,
Just
but like,
upper arms.
like, come on, like, you know, and that's when she would like wiggle and like get away and like, you know, like hide get in the corner, like really like aggressive, like defensively almost. And then we like wrestled on the ground the same way. Her nose started bleeding. And then she ended. I think she was back in bed, and I left. I was like, "This is not going anywhere."
How did she get back in bed?
We were like wrestling, and we stood up, and I tossed her. I pushed her on the bed. I was like, "Go to bed." Like, I'll talk to you later. I'm like, I didn't like throw her, but like we were like standing up at this point after we wrestled on the ground. She had like a bloody nose. Mm-hmm. I was like, go to bed.
Okay. And you kind of tossed her on the bed and you left?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you go back and check on her at any point?
No, I did not.
Okay. Did you touch her neck area at all? Did you choke her at one point?
I may have grabbed her a little bit by the neck when we were like, but I never like strangled her.
Okay.
But I mean, during the whole like commotion, you know, like I might have grabbed her neck, but I never was like strangling her.
Okay. All right.
The detective pressed George about the injuries Yeardley sustained. The text exchange between Yeardley and George disappeared off his phone.
When you left her apartment, did you take anything with you?
No.
Nothing at all?
Bad.
All right. Because I think her laptop is missing, I guess. Did you grab it for any reason?
Yeah, I did actually.
You did? Okay. Is it at your apartment?
Yeah, okay. Somewhere in my apartment. I can give it to her.
Why'd you grab her laptop?
Because I was so pissed that she wouldn't talk to me. I was like, I don't know. I like took it almost as like collateral, I guess. I don't know. It's not reasonable logic, but
right. Okay.
I don't know.
Did you take anything else besides your laptop?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Okay. All right. So when you left out of there, I mean, you saw that she was bleeding on her nose. Did you try to call rescue or anything, make sure she's all right?
No, I did not.
No. Why?
I didn't think it was like I didn't think that she was like in need of like going to the emergency room. She just had a blood.
What do you think that?
I don't know. I mean,
Did you say when you were, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you were shaking her head was hitting the wall?
Well, that was in the beginning. That was initially when I walked in. Like she was like up in the corner, like saying, "Get out of here!" Like like this.
Mm-hmm. Like, at any time when you were shaking her, did her head bang the wall? Did you shake her into the wall? I know you already said you didn't punch her and stuff.
I wasn't like throwing her into the wall. Like we were sitting on her bed, which is against the wall, and I was and I was like you're maybe I wasn't hitting her against the wall, but when she's sitting there in the corner of if it were like this, and I'm you're and I was what the fuck was that about? That's such bullshit that you do that. Possibly I was it's such a bullshit move. Ever hearing what are you doing like that?
Okay. She has a pretty good knot on her head. That's why I'm asking how you can explain how that would have happened.
I mean, I don't even know when a knot. Mm-hmm. I mean,
on the side of her head, she's been hit pretty good right there. So I'm just trying to figure out, did you hit her with something?
No.
Was that her head into the wall?
Never touched her or struck her or anything.
Well, you touched her. You had your hands on her.
I said never struck her.
Okay.
Never at all.
Well, I'm trying to figure out why she's got a black eye and why she's got a big lump right there.
I mean, we were. I I don't
So
know.
you never
I don't
hit her
know.
with anything?
I don't know
Is that
how
what you're
else.
saying? You never
Yeah, I don't know how.
with anything.
So she's got them.
So, okay. All right. No, that's fine. That's fine. All right. So I'm gonna go through this one more time, make sure we're on the same page. So you're pretty pissed at her from a week ago for sending you text messages. Do you have those text messages where she says she, as you put it, fucked somebody?
I actually might have those. Yeah.
All right. You got your phone with you?
Yeah.
And let's pull it out real quick. Let's see if we can see those.
This is.
We didn't say what.
They were like, I guess what you call like one of these, which is like an ongoing conversation, an ongoing like instant message, and it's gone.
Okay. I'll use that one. They normally got right in front of now. All right.
I mean,
So you're
I can
pretty
show you
pissed.
the emails that say she hooked up with someone.
Mhm.
I'm not
Okay.
lying about that.
Do you have a home computer or laptop?
Yeah. It's
Okay. Is that where all the emails are? I mean, can you get to them on that?
Actually, they're deleted off here. I can get to them though.
Okay. All right. That's fine right now.
We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor. Those of us who follow true crime understand that monitoring our kids' online activity is imperative. Cyberbullying, adult content, or internet predators are real digital dangers facing our kids today. Busy parents don't have time to read through every post, email, or message made by their children. And parents might not even be aware of all the social media platforms that their kids are visiting. So how do you keep children safe online? Bark can help. Bark is an award-winning service that proactively monitors text messages, emails, YouTube, and social media for safety concerns. It detects potential risks and will send parents notifications. Bark makes it easy to talk with your kids about online dangers. You can sign up for a 7-day free trial. Bark is only $9 per month or $99 per year. You can cancel anytime. That's bark.us, the smart way to keep your kids safer online. And now, back to the show. The detective noticed injuries on George's hands and wanted to know about his alcohol intake on May 2nd.
So last week, y'all kind of broke up a while back. It's kind of been, you've still been talking.
Yeah,
Last week, she gets pissed. You get pissed because she sends you a text. So last night, you go over there wanting to talk. Let's talk about how you entered. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Because to put your fist through the door.
it's
She has
actually
to
my
been
leg, I'm pretty
Your
sure.
leg?
Because that's why my leg's like this.
Yeah, you're right. That was your leg.
Yeah.
How'd you get all the bruising on your hand then?
This is all from lacrosse. This is all
Pretty fresh right there. Looks
this is all from my lacrosse game on Saturday.
on
I mean, I
Saturday.
wear my arm, you can see where my arm pads are.
Mm-hmm.
Right here, my gloves right here, and that's
Even right there, I thought you wore those padded gloves.
this is all
Lacrosse.
this is all the difference. This is all from lacrosse. 100%. This is where my arm pads are, and my glove goes to here. This is all tanner because that's where it gets sun compared to where my legs, like the difference in color. And that's I got whacked here. I remember 100% got whacked during the game when I was trying to kill the clock.
Mm-hmm. When you had her and you're shaking, did she scratch you anywhere?
No.
No.
She's
a little girl. She's tiny.
Yeah, she's not. No, she didn't
She didn't
scratch
try
me.
to hit you or anything like that.
No.
Okay. How much did you have to drink tonight? Last night.
I had probably four or five beers on the golf course.
Mm-hmm. And that was earlier in the day, though, right?
That was early in the day. And I had 2 glasses of wine at dinner, and then 3 more beers afterwards, and 3 more beers. Afterwards, after dinner, I probably had 5 years combined.
Okay. Did you smoke any weed?
No.
Any other drugs?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No.
After he left Yeardley's apartment, George admitted to taking her computer and tossing it into a dumpster.
So, but you pick up her computer on the way out the bedroom, right?
Yeah.
Anything else did you take?
No.
Nothing.
Not.
Where are we going to find the computer at?
The computer is, the dumpster maybe.
So you threw her computer in the dumpster?
Yeah. The one right by 14th Street.
Okay.
The one, no, not the one right by 14th Street. It is the one right by the point.
By the point?
There's an apartment
Called
complex.
the point, yeah.
And on the way home, I just tossed it in there. I walked over there, tossed it in there, and walked home.
Okay.
That's where the computer is.
All right.
A second detective stepped into the interrogation and wanted George to explain a night that took place several months ago where he pinned Yeardley to the ground at a lacrosse party. George again tried to paint Yeardley as the violent party.
Because it's funny that you mentioned putting your hands around her neck and holding her back that way. Is there another reason why you two broke up? Any arguments? Any past physical violence? Because keep in mind, before we talked to you, we talked to other people too.
No, I understand.
Okay.
I mean, that night that she found the text messages in my phone, I was like, I don't know. That night I was more drunk than I've probably ever been.
Right.
And she did the same thing, sort of yelling at me, hitting me while I'm drunk. And I actually laid on her and held her, detained her kind of. And she ended up leaving, but that happened that night.
How did you detain her?
I mean, sir, that night I was.
Did you let go of her yourself, or did other people have to come and get you off of her?
I'm not. I really don't remember that night at all.
Not at all.
No, not at all.
But maybe because you maybe smothered her a little bit that night. Maybe you choked her a little bit.
No, I don't think I choked her. She never said I choked her. She said I laid on her and held her.
Right.
How
did you lay down on her?
She said I literally laid on her.
Was she face down and you laid on top of her, or?
I don't even know. We've hung out since that night, a bunch of times. Actually, probably a dozen times since that night.
Right.
And we haven't really talked about that. But since that night, she's never said that I was choking her or anything. She said I literally laid on her and didn't let her.
She's about what, 105, 110 pounds soaking wet. You're almost double her size.
Yeah, probably.
You don't think that would maybe be enough to take the breath out of her if you're laying down on top of her?
I never thought about it like that, but I never hurt her.
Right. Well, we never mentioned anything to her, to her face, and you constantly bringing up that you didn't punch her in the face.
No,
we never even asked you that question.
I know.
Did you maybe at least smack her? Hey, snap out of it or something like that?
No.
What's wrong with you?
I did not. No,
Nothing like that?
I never. No. I'm in here for assault charges.
Right.
That's why.
I never told you were.
Yeah,
we had any warrants on you.
Right. I know, but
So you're
someone
being
said we're
detained
here
right now,
for an
okay?
assault investigation.
Right.
That's why I'm.
Have you ever threatened any harm to her?
No.
Why'd you take her computer?
I don't know. I have no idea.
There's maybe because there's evidence on the computer, emails that you sent.
No, there's no. I mean, you can read all the emails and everything back and forth.
There's no threats. There's not going to be anything on that computer that we're going to bring up forensically. That came from George saying, "Hey, you know what? I found out that you're cheating on me."
No,
nothing like that.
Nothing.
Why'd you take that computer?
You can look at my computer. The same emails that are on my computer on her computer. And emails are on the internet. It's not like her email account is erased because I took her computer. I have no idea why I took her computer. Probably because she was not talking to me and not she did all this stuff and I just walked out of there with the computer.
Why would this little girl just for no reason start attacking you out of the blue?
you can ask my friends that with the night that the other night.
Yeah, the other night.
You can. I wish there. I have 3 eyewitnesses for that one.
Right.
She walked in and started punching me in the face, hit me with her purse, hit me with her cell phone, and literally when I stood up and backed away, it was like to the other. I was like, "You have to stop! Like, get away from me! Get away from me!" She kept coming back for more.
Okay.
Up until this point, George had minimized his role in the altercation with Yeardley. The detectives placed more pressure on George to extract the truth.
No violence, right? Nothing.
No, sir. I'm not lying. Like, you can read all the emails. You can look at everything.
Why in the heck would you break down her door? Locked door means don't come
to
in.
talk to her. And I've sent her.
No, that's more than that, man. That's rage. The way that door was kicked in, that was pure rage. You must have been seriously mad.
No.
You've told us everything else.
I've
You're
told you
seriously
everything.
mad,
I've told you guys everything. I'm not hiding anything.
Right.
I've told you literally everything.
But why kick it in? That's just pure rage.
I wanted to talk to her. I wanted to talk to her.
Have you always been that way with her as far as if she didn't want to do something, it was kind of your way or the highway type of thing?
No.
No?
I mean, I understand that, you had a lot of alcohol in you last night. Okay.
I mean,
and, do you think that could have maybe led into why you were, fed your emotions to kick in that door?
That may have made me rationalize kicking in the door to open it up, but it was all strictly to go in there and talk to her. I wanted to talk to her. I told her that. I sent emails. You can see all the emails. You can see everything. I said, we need to talk about this.
Okay.
I said I think 3 emails. Like, I want to come talk to you when people say like, fuck yourself. Like, and I should not have gone over there when I was drinking, but that when I was that's made me emotional. So I wanted to go talk to her. That's why I kicked in the door. That's why I was trying to talk. That's why I wanted to talk to her.
At any point before you said you and this was your words, you said you tossed her on the bed and then you left.
Yeah.
All right. At any point before that, did she lose consciousness?
No.
Okay. What happened after you tossed her on the bed? Did she move? Talk about, say something?
I mean, I literally tossed her on the bed and turned around.
Tossed her on the ground or tossed her on the bed?
And walked out the door.
Okay. Did she still have her t-shirt on at that point?
Yeah.
Did that get ripped off?
Yeah, I mean, she only had her t-shirt on the entire time.
Okay.
She was never not unclothed.
All right. So you didn't sexually assault her or anything?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I know you have to. Sorry.
Okay.
I apologize.
All right. So when you tossed her in her bed, was she on her back or on her stomach?
I mean, I think she was on her back. I'm not sure. I mean, I was I
asked you earlier about the light. If she's kind of in bed, then maybe the lights were off. Were the lights on? And did you turn them on?
The lights were...
For you to be able to see.
The lights were not on. No.
How did you see the blood and stuff come from that?
Because she's got a big bay window right by her room, and there's lights from the parking lot.
Okay.
That it's not hard. It's easy to see.
Okay. So when you tossed her back on the bed, in your mind, she was bleeding. You said she was bleeding out her nose, and you didn't feel like you needed to call rescue?
No.
After that, after banging her head and shaking her and blood coming out her nose on the floor?
No.
The detectives finally revealed to George what happened to Yeardley.
And you've been honest so far, so there's really no reason not to lie about anything. But when you left out there, were you kind of like, she got what she deserved? Is that why you didn't call 911?
No. It wasn't about that for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was about going to talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing about
you missed anything that you want to ask me right now?
There's nothing about going to get anything. I don't know. I took a computer, and that was irrational.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like my collateral almost, if you could look at it like that. I mean, I guess that's where my logic was at, but which is.
Well, I have to tell you something.
Well, I think I know why you took the computer.
Why do you think?
You
Go
all
ahead,
right?
go ahead.
No? She's dead. You killed her, George. You killed her.
She's dead?
I think you knew that already.
No, I did not. She's dead? How the fuck is she dead?
Because you killed her, George.
How the fuck is she dead?
Because you killed her.
Oh my god.
We're not here for any reason, George.
She's dead?
Yes.
She's dead.
Yes.
She's dead.
She's dead.
How? How?
I already told you how. You already told us how as well.
How is she dead?
You just told us.
How is she dead? How is she dead? I didn't strangle. I didn't fucking hit her. I don't even know. I don't. She's dead.
Yes.
How the fuck is she dead? Oh my god.
We're serious, George. That's why you took the computer, isn't it?
No.
Because you had threats to kill her on that from a past email because she hooked up with a player from UNC.
I said that. I never, like, that was just like the
You said
heat of the
that.
moment. The heat of the moment. Yeah.
Last night was heat of the moment too, wasn't it? You went in there to talk with her, but it got out of control, right, George? The alcohol got a hold of you. You kicked in her door. She started to fight with you. You punched her in the head, or you
She's
cracked.
not dead.
You cracked
She's
her
not
head.
dead.
You
She's
cracked her
not
head in
dead.
the window or in the
She's
wall.
not dead.
She is.
She's not
I
dead.
ain't BSing you right now. It's serious,
I want to see her. She's
George,
not
look
dead.
at me.
George.
She is dead.
You are not here to dance with us. You're here because she's dead. The alcohol.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
It's true.
Dude, I didn't hurt her.
Listen to me.
I didn't hurt her.
Listen to me. You probably didn't mean to hurt her.
I didn't hurt her.
You went in there, you kicked the door, she got a little feisty. You either punched her or you smacked her head into the concrete, and then you held her down on the pillow because that's what
No, I didn't hit her on the pillow. I was never on the bed.
Okay, then
I never held her down. I never suffocated. I never did anything. I don't believe that she's dead.
how did you?
I don't believe that she's dead.
How
I
is she-
don't believe that she's
Did
dead.
you punch her? Did you hit her?
How there's no way she's dead. She's not dead. I never did anything
Listen
like
to
this,
me.
like that she could be dead.
Listen to me.
She's not dead.
Did you punch her or did
I never know.
you hold her head into the wall? Did you crack it?
No.
Did you
Is her
smack
head cracked?
Did you smack her head in the wall?
No, she's not dead. She's not dead. You guys said she's a black eye and a bump on her head.
She has those things.
But she's not dead. I did not.
All right, let's calm down.
I did not like hurt her. Like she's not dead.
Calm down a minute, George, okay?
Tell me she's not dead. Tell me she's not dead.
I want you to calm down right now, okay?
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I never did anything that could do that to her.
Well, let's
I
calm down.
never did anything that could do that to her. I swear to God, I never did anything that could do that to her. I never. No, I don't. I refuse to believe that she's dead because there's no way that anything that happened last night could kill her.
Okay. All right.
Just out of protocol, what we gotta do is stand up for you. Put your hands behind your back. Turn around.
Relax.
Relax. You'll be all right.
Tell me she's not dead. Tell me she's not dead, though, please. Will you tell me she's not dead?
Relax.
Please, will you tell me
You know what?
she's
I
not
wish
dead?
I could tell you that, George. 22-year-old. 22. And her life is done.
Oh my God, kill me. She can't be dead. She can't be dead. She's not. I cannot do anything like that. I did not do anything that could have killed her.
You realize you are under arrest.
I realize that.
All right, we're going to consult the Commonwealth Attorney on the proper charge, but it's going to be related to her death. Make sure you understand.
She's dead.
Okay.
She's. How? There's no way. Oh my God, there's no way she could be dead. There's no way. Oh my God. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way. I don't believe it. It's true. Sir, I don't believe it. Sir, please tell me you're fine.
I'm not lying, she's dead.
Sir, how is she dead? How?
That's what I want you to clarify.
How?
You know how.
How? No, I didn't know. No, I didn't know.
Why didn't you know?
Why? She's not dead. She's not dead. She's not dead. I know she's not dead. I know. This is
I know it got out of control last night, George.
She's not dead. She's not dead. I know she's not dead. I know 100 million % she's not dead. I did. She cannot be dead. You're not lying to me either, are you? You're not lying. She's dead. Oh my God. No,
I know it got out of hand, George.
No, it did not. It didn't.
And what happened?
I didn't kill her. I did not kill her. I did not kill her.
Maybe smack her head one time too hard?
I never hit. No. I mean,
And then later-
maybe on the ground. No.
Did you smack her head, maybe lay her on the bed so she could kind of relax?
No.
Well, you didn't punch her because, I don't think you would have done that.
No. No. I still do not believe it. So, I don't believe it. You came in and said you were filing an assault charge, which makes sense, but that doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense.
She was assaulted and she died.
No way.
And you were there. This happened when you were there. Now's the time to man up, George. Tell me what happened.
I told you what happened.
What happened to get?
I told you what happened.
How did they get out of control?
It didn't. I told you what happened. It didn't get out of control. She's not dead. She's not dead. There's no way she's dead. There's no way. I didn't do it. No way. No way.
It didn't take long for the whole UVA campus to learn about the tragedy. A few days later, there was a candlelight vigil for Yeardley. The UVA president reminded students to not stay quiet and encouraged them to report signs of abuse or violence. It was a difficult time for many of the graduating college seniors who were on the cusp of one of the most exciting times in their life, and instead, they were mourning the loss of their treasured friend. Yeardley's funeral was held at the Cathedral of Mary Our Queen in Baltimore, Maryland. Thousands of people showed up to celebrate Yeardley's life with her mother Sharon and sister Lexi. The Love family barred the media from entering the cathedral. There was a photo of Yeardley wearing an angel costume from when she was a small child. Underneath the photo was a quote from Yeardley's yearbook: "Truly great friends are hard to find, difficult to leave, and impossible to forget." During his 2-hour service, Father Brainer spoke about Yeardley's kindness and how she always put others first. He warmly stated that her family can honor her life and legacy by living their best lives and making others feel good. The father never specifically mentioned George Huguely during the service, but wanted everyone to think about forgiveness. The day after his arrest, George made his first court appearance via jailhouse video and wore his gray and white prison uniform. To onlookers, it appeared as if he had wiped all traces of expression from his face. George's parents hired high-profile defense attorney Francis Lawrence. At the preliminary hearing, Lawrence told the court that Yeardley's death was an accident. George's murder trial started on February 6, 2012, and lasted 2 weeks. George Huguely was charged with first-degree murder, robbery, grand larceny, and entering a home with an intent to commit a felony. When paramedics found Yeardley, her right eye was swollen shut, she had a big bruise on the right side of her face, her nose had been bleeding, and there were various cuts on her face. George had admitted during the interrogation that he shook Yeardley. His defense team tried to place doubt around the blunt force trauma that Yeardley suffered. They argued that Yeardley did not sustain shoulder or torso damage from George shaking her, and she was absent skull fractures. Therefore, she could not have died from blunt force trauma. The defense said that the hemorrhaging found in Yeardley's brain might have been caused by the paramedics that performed CPR. Yeardley was taking Adderall at the time of her death, and the defense suggested that it might have caused a cardiac arrhythmia. They brought in expert Dr. Jan Liesma, who stated that Yeardley died from suffocation caused by being face down on her pillow while bleeding. This ran counter to the evidence presented by the prosecution. The medical examiner, Dr. William Gormley, had determined Yeardley's official cause of death was blunt force trauma. He said that Yeardley's blood alcohol level was 0.14 that night, and she had a small amount of amphetamine in her system from the Adderall. The medical examiner said that those amounts of alcohol and amphetamine could not have caused Yeardley's death. The prosecution called approximately 50 witnesses to the stand who verified that George drank excessively and often. Many confirmed that he had an explosive temper and was repeatedly heard arguing with Yeardley. The prosecution laid out the facts. George drank heavily on the day of the incident. He sent Yeardley several emails wanting to talk. When she didn't respond to George, he went out to find her. He entered her apartment and broke into her bedroom door by kicking it in. She didn't want to talk with him, so he violently shook her. Yeardley's head repeatedly hit the wall, and George left her face down on the bed. Additionally, she was found shirtless. He took her laptop, fled her apartment, then threw the laptop in a dumpster. Once the laptop was recovered, police found the threatening emails that George had sent. During the interrogation, his story shifted. At first, George said he didn't shake her, which after some prodding by detectives turned into he shook her a little. Or, he said that he didn't strangle her, but he might have grabbed her neck. When police executed a search warrant, they found the clothes that George wore to the assault. There was a passport in the pocket of his cargo shorts, as if he was getting ready to flee the country. Not only did Yeardley Love's family have to sit through the trial, they had to sit through the interrogation tapes where George minimized his role in Yeardley's death and called her the aggressor. On February 22, 2012, after 9 hours of deliberation, the jury found George Huguely guilty of second-degree murder and grand larceny. Yeardley's mother, Sharon, and her sister, Lexi, both spoke at George's sentencing. Sharon said that she wondered what her daughter would be doing now, and that she was afraid of forgetting little things about Yeardley. Lexi told the court that it hurt so bad. She never wanted something so bad in her life than to see her sister's face again. George was eventually sentenced to 23 years in prison. 22 years were for the murder of Yeardley, and 1 year was for the grand larceny. George's mother, Marta, remained quiet for a long time. She even attempted to seal her divorce records to keep them from the media. In January 2017, Marta broke her silence by appearing on the Today Show True Crime series. She showed pictures of George from family visitation time in prison. Marta had not given a statement for a long time, out of respect for Yeardley's family, but in this interview, she said that the jury got the verdict wrong. Marta proclaimed that Yeardley was George's best friend and that he would have never intended her any harm. She said Yeardley's death had been a drunken accident and her son should have only been convicted of involuntary manslaughter. Yeardley's family had filed 2 wrongful death suits, one against the UVA men's lacrosse team for $30 million and another one against George Huguely for $30 million. The lawsuit stated that the coaches ignored George's assaults against Yeardley and other students, including another female, because he was a vital member of the lacrosse team. Sharon ended up dropping the lawsuit against UVA. A rationale was never provided. In 2017, a federal judge ruled that George's insurance company did not have to pay out a settlement, so the Love family dropped the lawsuit against him since there were no resources worth suing over. George is serving his time at the Augusta Correctional Center in Craigsville, Virginia. He worked on finishing his college degree, he has a prison job, and he plays cards to pass the time. George's release date is 2030, when he will be in his 40s. To honor and keep the memory of their daughter and sister alive, Sharon and Lexi founded the One Love Foundation after her death. The name of the foundation is a combination of her lacrosse jersey number and her last name. The foundation tries to raise public awareness for relationship violence and educates people on the warning signs of an unhealthy relationship. It provides tools to high school and college students to get them out of abusive situations. In a letter on the One Love Foundation website, Sharon tells readers that she knew nothing about relationship violence, and that One Love provided the domestic violence information that she didn't have at the time of Yeardley's death. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Beyond Contempt. You can visit the One Love Foundation website at joinonelove.org and check out their 10 signs of an unhealthy relationship. They also have a Facebook and Instagram presence. For listeners who feel like they are in a bad situation and are dealing with domestic abuse, reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233. They are available around the clock. Their website is thehotline.org, and they will connect you with local organizations in your state who can provide help. Please visit BeyondContentPodcast.com for links to the sources used in this episode. This episode was researched by Becca Klein. Script writing, editing, and all audio production were performed by me. If you like the show, please leave me a favorable review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much, everyone. See you in 2 weeks.
Who